If you're someone who's feeling really stressed out right now and you'd like some help with that, then you're in absolutely the right place. Because today I'm joined by Dr. Rebecca Williams, and she's going to talk a little bit about what stress is and how you might manage that and feel calmer. So I'm going to hand straight over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Julie. So, yes, hello and welcome. So, having worked as a GP for nearly 25 years and now running a stress management business, I know quite a lot about stress. So, ultimately, what is stress? Well, it's what happens when the demands placed upon us exceed our ability to cope. Now, in order to understand this, we need to take a step back and think about something known as the acute stress response or the fright, fight, flight response. Now, this is an evolutionary adaptation to life-threatening situations, which is all about maximizing our chances of survival. So when we're in danger, the most primitive part of our brain recognizes that threat and generates a response. It activates the systems that we need. For example, our heart rate goes up, our breathing rate goes up, and our muscle tone increases, making us stronger. But at the same time, it suppresses those systems that we don't need. For example, our gut, and very significantly, the front part of our brain, known as the prefrontal cortex, where our higher functioning occurs. So, this is where we do our rational thinking, where we make decisions, solve problems. It's where we receive and process information to remember things. And it's also where we control our emotions. Now, once the danger has passed, or we've run away or fought it off, everything goes back to normal. But unfortunately, the brain can't tell the difference between these life-threatening situations and many of the things that make us feel stressed. So it still activates this same response to a greater or lesser extent. So what does this mean for us if we're struggling with stress for days, weeks, months? Firstly, our higher functioning won't be working properly. So we'll find it hard to think clearly, to make decisions, to solve problems, to control our emotions, and to remember things. And this will clearly impact on our lives, both at home and in the workplace, and it will affect our interactions with people. Secondly, we may well develop health problems because of this prolonged abnormal physiological response. And this can further impact on the way we function and interact with people. And thirdly, we may start relying on unhealthy ways to cope with our stress. For example, smoking, too much alcohol, overeating, excessive caffeine, working all hours, and evenings and weekends. And this further impacts on our functioning and our interactions with those around us. So it's really important that we learn to recognize stress in ourselves and we know what to do to reduce its impact on our lives and on our health. So I thought I'd start by talking about something known as grounding tools, because one of the big problems with stress is feeling overwhelmed and out of control. And grounding tools are all about trying to bring us back from our stress bit of brain to our rational thinking part of our brain. Now, breathing is a really good grounding tool. When we're stressed, we tend to breathe fast and shallow, and that just tells the brain we're in a dangerous situation. So it just perpetuates the stress response. So by learning breathing tools, we can actually learn to bring ourselves back into a place of calm. Diaphragmatic breathing is a really good form of breathing. This is all about breathing deep down to the bottom of our lungs, which pushes the diaphragm down. That's a muscle mass between the chest and the abdomen. And then as we breathe out again, the diaphragm comes up. The best way to learn this is to put your hand between your rib cage and your belly button. And as you breathe in, you should feel your hand rise up. And as you breathe out, the hand goes down. If you're struggling doing it in a sitting position, I recommend you lie flat and do it. It's often much easier doing it that way. Once you've got the type of breathing and feel confident doing it, then you can combine that with box breathing. So you breathe in for 3, hold for 3, out for 4, hold for 4. Or you can simply combine it with 6, 8. So it's in for 6, out for 8. Ideally breathing in and out through your nose. Another really useful grounding tool is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 mindfulness tool. And this is all about engaging your senses and bombarding your brain with sensory information so that it comes back into its rational place. Now, so you basically look around you and you say 5 things I can see, and you name them. So engage with them and name them. Then 4 things I can hear. And at this point, you just stop and, sorry, I beg your pardon, it's 4 things I can touch or feel. So at this point, you just reach out and touch 4 things, or you might be aware of things like feeling a bit of hair on your face or clothes on your skin. Three things I can hear, two I can smell, one I can taste. And often you don't need to get right the way down to taste, actually. Often you'll feel calmer before you get there. So the senses actually in general are a really good way to try and calm yourself. And it's good to be aware of which senses are particularly calming for you. For some people, scent is a really calming, or smell is really calming for them. So they find that having a bit of lavender oil and a hanky in their pocket, or the scent of the person that they love with them, gives them something they can smell if they're feeling overwhelmed, and that helps to calm them. For some people, touch is particularly calming as well. So having an item of clothing that feels really smooth to stroke or touch can just help them in the moment feel calmer. So be aware of which senses really speak to you and really embrace those. Another tool that's really useful if you're feeling overwhelmed is the serenity prayer, which goes like this: Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The acronym CIA says the same thing: control, influence, accept. What these are saying is focus your energy on those things you are in a position to make changes or to do something about. We can spend a lot of time worrying about things that haven't happened, dwelling on things that are horrendous, especially in other parts of the world, which we can't change. So we need to try and train ourselves to focus on the things we can do something about. I recommend you write down everything that's making you feel stressed. Don't just put work, try and identify what it is about work that's making you feel stressed, and then work through your list and circle the ones that you could actually do something about that are within your sphere of control or influence. And that just helps you feel a bit more in control, and makes things feel less overwhelming. Another tool that my clients find really helpful is the concept of simple joys. This is a term I've come up with to describe things that we really enjoy doing, that make us feel good, that we can do literally in a few minutes and that don't cause us harm. So examples might be watering your house plants, playing a musical instrument for a few minutes, flipping through your favorite magazine, watching birds on the bird feeder, whatever it is, you can literally do it in a few minutes. And why are these useful? Well, there's three situations I can think where they're useful. One is an alternative to the unhealthy ways of coping. So as you're reaching for a glass of wine or a piece of chocolate, think to yourself, actually, no, I'm going to go and do one of my simple joys for a few minutes because that will make me feel a bit better without causing me harm. Secondly, it can be really useful if you've got a big chunk of work that you're finding overwhelming. You can break it down into small pieces, and after each piece, reward yourself with one of your simple joys, and that just helps to break up a challenging task. And it can also just be really useful to give yourself natural breaks throughout your day, especially if you're working from home and there's not many natural breaks. Just having your simple joys, a selection of them interspersed through your day, can be a good way to give you a little uplift, and keep you going. Now, self-care is really important. Self-care is what builds our resilience. Tools for overwhelm are all well and good. They help us when we're feeling in that kind of crisis situation, but actually resilience requires investing in our mental, physical, and emotional health. And these need to be a priority, not an afterthought. So when it comes to mental health, I'm just going to give you a couple of tools. One is attitude of gratitude. We are wired to look for problems to keep ourselves safe. So we have to consciously look for positives. So maybe when you wake up in the morning, just say three things you're grateful for. As you go through the day, look for positives and acknowledge them. And that will help keep you in a more positive mindset. Positive self-talk is also really important. Often when we're starting to struggle with stress, as I've intimated before, it affects the way we function, and we start maybe forgetting things or being irritable. And then we can start getting really annoyed with ourselves, and we can use very negative, judgmental words about ourselves, which just drag us down even further. So be kind to yourself, self-compassion. Use words like kindness, hopeful, encouraging words that can just help make you feel a bit better. So that's really important. When it comes to physical health, we talked about breathing. Movement is really important, especially if you're working from home. Get up regularly and move all your joints and just get your muscles pumping a little bit. And exercise is also really good for mental and physical health. So find a form of exercise that you really enjoy. And when it comes to emotional health, Nature is free and is a real tonic, and studies show that nature improves happiness scores. So find ways to incorporate nature in your day, whether it is just looking at birds on the bird feeder, doing a bit of gardening, going for a walk, looking out of your window at the view of trees if you've got trees, or whatever it is. But try and find ways to incorporate nature and let it work its magic. And the other thing is do things that you enjoy. We've talked about simple joys, but actually allowing a longer period of time in your day when you can do something that you enjoy, whether it's engaging in a hobby, time with your family, time just sitting doing nothing or whatever. This is really important for, again, producing positive chemicals in your body to make you feel better and will help you become more resilient. And finally, I'm just going to talk you through an acronym, which is particularly important if you are struggling. The acronym is STAN. S. Spend time with people who make you feel good about yourself. So the last thing you need if you are struggling is to spend time with people who judge you, criticize you, pour out all their woes onto you. Select who you spend the time with as much as you can and try and spend it with people who can lift you up and be encouraging and positive for you. P. Talk to somebody. I can't tell you how many times in general practice I had patients who came in just totally all over the place, and having poured out everything to me, they just looked like the weight had been lifted off them. So talk to somebody, whether it's a friend, a colleague, a family member. Worst case scenario, if you've got nobody else, the Samaritans are always there to listen. But the process of articulating what's going on in your head can be enormously therapeutic for you and just help you start trying to find a road back to feeling better. A is ask for help. Again, similar to talking, but different, because sometimes it may be practical help you need. Maybe you're very busy juggling work and children, and you've actually got no time for yourself at all. Perhaps asking a friend or a family member if they can look after the children to give you a little bit of time to yourself. So think about what you need and find the right person to ask. And then N is no, it's boundary setting. Many people, for many reasons, find it very hard to say no. Some people have kind of people-pleasing tendencies, so they feel they have to keep other people happy, either because of fear of judgment, or they feel they're a failure if they don't, or if it just makes them feel good to make other people happy, and they need that to feel good about themselves. It doesn't really matter why you do it, but if you're aware of that tendency in yourself, it's something you really do need to work on. So learning to say no is really important. For example, it may be at work that someone's just piled more work on your table and you just have to say, I'm really sorry, I can't do all of this. Which are the priorities? And I will do them first. It may be a friend who's phoning you up to have another moan about something. You might have to say, I'm really sorry, I cannot be that support for you right now. It's also about being strict about what time you finish your working day and not keep popping back in and looking at emails, being very strict with yourself about social media. So it's learning to say no to yourself and no to other people as a way of preserving your health so that you are then, much better to be there for people and to manage life. So on that note, I shall pass back to Julie. If you're interested in more, I do have some blogs on my website. I have a little book, and you can book a 15-minute conversation for free via my website. Thank you, Julie.
Oh my goodness, Rebecca. I didn't expect you to cover so much. It was so good to hear what happens biologically, but also all the tips that you shared. I mean, fantastic habits to get into. And I think you're absolutely right. Self-care is paramount for building that resilience. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't know the one about the 5 4 3 2 1 actually. And that's really, really useful. So thank you
Yeah.
so, so much. So thank you everyone for watching or listening. Please do check out Rebecca's links. They will be below this video. Mine will be there as well. And do get in touch. I mean, obviously, as you can tell, Rebecca knows her stuff. So thank you again, Rebecca, and thank you everyone else for watching.
Thank you.